everyone, and welcome to another Monday Moments with Moon. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about my university classes and how the pandemic has affected my university going experience. I want to make note that this is just my own personal experience and that I'm fully aware that not everyone experiences this will be the same as mine. I just want to share my own thoughts as well as some things I wish my professors and school had done differently to handle this situation. So, America shut down during my long weekend off of school last semester. I was visiting my parents with plans to go back to my apartment, but instead ended up just staying there till the end of the summer and start of next semester. And boy, was that rough, trying to do classes online with a family who doesn't know what an inside voice is makes things difficult, but I managed to get through it, though not without quite a few disappointments. One of those was a research project I was working on with a friend that got canceled. We were due to interview big businesses and also to present our findings at an event held by my school, but we were unable to do any of that. I was also to present some of my poetry at that same event, and that too got canceled. For our first class online, me and another girl had to present a project that we had finished before quarantine. In other words, a project that relied heavily on group participation, as we were supposed to teach the class in that style. We couldn't do any of the things we planned, and the presentation just went horribly wrong. Thankfully, the professor understood that we were put in a bad situation and only graded us on the work we had done and not the presentation part, but still, it was extremely disappointing not getting to present something we had spent hours working on. We had printed out a brain puzzle and worksheets, and none of that stuff will ever get to be used. The last really big disappointment was that I could no longer go to my history club meetings. I really missed the meetings we had once a week and all the fun things we did, like the movies and parties and field trips. And at the end of the semester, we had gotten funding by the school to go to the Cherry Festival in Washington, D.C., bus and hotel rooms provided. And that trip never got to happen, which I'm still very sad about. And this leads me to this semester. After this week, this will be my first full semester completed in quarantine, and it has been a struggle. At first, my school offered to have in-person social distance classes with people being able to Zoom in if they rather, and two of my classes decided to go with that option, and neither of them worked well. Those on Zoom tended to get ignored completely. It put way too much stress on the professors and the students, and both classes tended to be highly discussion-based, meaning everyone had to be able to talk to everyone else easily, so the Zoom in class hybrid just did not work for the classes I was taking. Both my professors ended up moving to 100% online weeks before my school officially announced that all classes, I think excepting those involving labs, were going to do so, which in the end was a lot better. Discussion flowed easier, we could see everyone, and the professors struggled less, meaning they could focus on what really mattered, which was teaching the class and engaging with the students. Despite this being better for the class, it was terrible for my mental health. I love engaging with people in person, and those in-person classes was the only opportunity I got to do so. Losing that meant I was completely isolated for months. I had a roommate, but we don't ever interact. I don't even know why, we just don't. When we do happen to see each other, her headphones are in and I'm ignored. I see my brother once a week to go grocery shopping, as I don't have a car and he doesn't have a washing machine. And I love that, but a brother isn't the same thing as having a friend. And the only other person I could see about once a month was one of my friends and her parents. That was it. No other meaningful human connection. I love playing with my friends online, and those guys are definitely my best friends, there's no doubt about it, but that can't replace physical interactions. Interactions I have been relying completely on school and my history club to get. I was going to have a friend come down one long weekend, but she tested positive for COVID, so that obviously didn't happen. She's fine, by the way. So yeah, that has probably been the greatest struggle with this whole quarantine thing. And I get it, and I still want to respect the rules and continue to do it, and I understand that it's for the betterment of everyone, and so I will continue to respect and obey the rules. But that doesn't make it any less hard. The last thing I want to talk about regarding online classes is just how unprepared professors were for this. They had no clue what they were doing, and that's no fault on their part. But boy, did it add another level of difficulty towards classes. So I have 5 classes with 5 very different approaches. I just want to share my favorites and least favorite parts of these classes' approaches. My favorite approach had to be my Brazil history class. My professor had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but those sorted, she figured out how to teach the class and teach it well. She asked tons of questions, which kept us engaged, and managed to stay on schedule, which is hard when you aren't teaching in a new environment. She also got interactive Zoom classes with guests who taught us different things. This is something she normally did in class, so she just moved it online. And while the experience weren't the same, it was nice to know we still got the experience. Classwork was never overwhelming, even though it still challenged us. The only thing that bugged me about the class was that the professor would talk about cool things we would be doing in person, which kinda sucked. And in fact, I'm pretty sure every single one of my professors did that. Each one of them would talk about things that, we'd be doing this or this in person, we'd be going on this trip, or we'd go here, we'd do this, or this project is something we do which we can't do anymore. And honestly, I don't want to hear about the stuff that we would be doing in person. I just want to know what we can be doing online. That just created a lot of disappointment. It brought everyone's mood down, and all of us are still struggling with isolation and stuff. And the last thing we need is all these things knowing that there's all these things we should have gotten that we're not going to. And I think the other big thing was I never really had any personal interactions with my classmate, which is something that I really, really miss. My least favorite style used was my other history class, which was American military history. I want to note that this was not my least favorite class of the semester, just the least favorite style used. It was in fact one of my favorite classes, just things about how it was done didn't seem to be working very well. First off, cameras were optional, meaning no one used them. Questions were never asked during lectures, so class engagement was practically zero. I am 90% sure that a lot of people just zoned out after the roll call and just came back near the end of the class. And yeah, I feel like if you're going to do a Zoom class, having the camera on is important, at least for college age. All of us are adults and can, sit in front of a computer and discuss in class and have our face shown. So I feel like I definitely prefer the classes which require cameras versus the classes that didn't. One thing I did like was that there was a lot of students leading class, our assignments were to present things in class, which was nice, but there was no interacting with fellow students or even with the professor. He also increased the workload way too much. Something I feel a lot of professors forgot is that online classes means learning the same amount of stuff, but with less interactions with the professors. There's no chatting before and after class really, or meeting up in the hallway to talk about stuff. We can't meet in person, meaning that some things that we normally do, have printout copies, which we could both look over and scribble over and talk, things that are valuable, we just can't do anymore. And we can do certain versions online, but I'm sure a lot of us can agree that those online versions aren't as good as the in-person versions. So it's really bad when students are expected to do the same amount of work, but without being able to get the same help from professors. Workloads needed to be adjusted accordingly, and that was something this professor did not do. He also didn't change any of the projects to be online format, which led to just a lot of confusion of how some things can be done, which only added to the stress and to the workload, and it was already a stressful workload. For the other 3 classes, it was a lot of the same. One class separated the class into 2 Zoom meetings so it could better interact with us, which worked and was nice. Another did half video and half actual class, which was okay. And one that really worked used breakout rooms and constant questions and discussions, as well as required cameras to be on. As you can probably tell, I love classes that have a focus on interacting with my fellow students. That element was missing from a lot of these online classes. I'm someone who believes you can learn just as much from your fellow students as your professor, at least in the field I am, which is history and English and communications. 3 things which are highly opinion-based, meaning that getting the best way to be educated on the subjects is to have as many opinions as you can. So not having that element really made me feel like I wasn't receiving my full education. So I'm really grateful to those 2 classes that did focus on communication between students and professors, and I really hope that these other classes I took learned from this experience and, incorporate more student participation and interaction into their classes. And that has been my experience. This semester has been hard. I'm struggling with isolation. Going weeks without any real human interaction outside a once-a-week visit from my brother is just not healthy. I'm learning very quickly, and I miss greatly interacting with my fellow students, and I'm sad that it looks like my entire senior year is going to look like this. I'm the type of person who's very slow to making friends, and last year was the first year I was really opening up and engaging with my campus community, so I was really excited for my senior years and all the projects I had planned, and now none of that is going to happen, which sucks. But I'm still going to make the best of it, just as I know my fellow students and professors are also trying to do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave any thoughts you have in the comment sections, such as, how are you guys doing with online school or with social distance school learning? And I also hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye!